right, welcome back, folks. Nice to have you with us. We are now getting into call it the meat and potatoes of this. We were just looking at the Hamilton's UCT game. There are some fixtures happening tonight. We'll talk about those permutations in a second. Hamilton's UCT, Jerome, we spoke about just before the break, whether or not there was is there a mental impact if you are knowing that you're under the gun? UCT still have, I mean, they're in that position now that they've got literally, it's between them and Van der Stel in terms of tonight's game as to whether they're going to make it into the top 6. So for UCT playing at Hamilton's, they're 5-0 down at halftime. What is going through their mind? This is where I was trying to get to you guys in terms of the question I'm asking you and Morgan is, does that sort of pressure have an impact for you? Or are the today's players going on that quality of what you were talking about earlier on? Are they so organized that it's not, they're playing the ball, they're playing the game more than worrying about the outcome?
Yeah, look, I mean, as a coach, if you're 5-0 halftime, there's no pressure on you, and you can't even put your players under pressure because it's 5-0. In 2 minutes or 1 minute, you can score. You can score, then you can lead 7-5.
Yeah.
If I'm a coach, I would say, look, we're on track. There's no panic. We can win this game. The score is very low. We just need to do X, Y, Z, and we get our points on the table. But if on the other hand, it's home ground for Hamilton's. They also know what they have to do, so the pressure will be more on Hamilton's.
Yeah. So, Morgan, one of the, I suppose the other thing I'm trying to talk about is, at a time like that, when you're 5-0, it's very equal between the two sides. There is no time for you to take the conversation to anything other than common sense, logic, talking about the drills, talking about your patterns. You have to really, as a coach, stay composed during that time. There's no time for screaming and shouting.
Oh yeah, no. You got to be composed for pretty much for 80 minutes to be fair. But I mean, you talk about 5-0. 5-0, I agree with Jerome. It's pretty much like 0-0. There's not much in it. Number one, and number two, it obviously depends on the conditions of the day. If that game was played at the Green Mile, which I think it was, then.
No, it's Hammond's game.
Oh, if it was played at Amis, wherever it was played, it can definitely be a game of two halves. If it's at Amis, it's which way the wind is blowing. I could be that if it's a 14-point wind, for example, then going into halftime.
If it was anything like last week, the ball's going backwards.
You know what I mean? So and then a 5-0 lead with the wind into your face is actually more like a 20-point lead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there are a lot of variables that come into play with regards to what the condition of the game is at 5-0. But just purely on the scoreboard, 5-0, 0-0, it's much of a much, it's so close.
Well, folks, at this stage, we're talking about a 2-point difference for these teams. Or in fact, for tonight, in between UCT and Van der Stel, it's a 1-point margin as to who's going to make it into the top 6. So at this stage of the game, as we're watching Hamilton's and UCT, going through their minds, it is a make or break. Let's take a look. Second half, Hamilton's UCT. go. For you, there's lots of discussions happening in the back of the studio at the moment around the format. But we'll talk to Morgan about that. I think he wants to bring some aspects of football into our rugby here, but we're never going to have that. Hamilton's with the win then, 15-5 over UCT. All right, guys, let's talk about this. We're still on the log. Let's take a look at the log quickly, folks. And this is where the logs stand now after Saturday. Villages sitting at number 1, followed by Durban, False Bay in number 4, SK Warmers at 5, UCT is at number 6, and then Van der Stel is at position number 7. All right, so there can't be any more movement below position number 7, folks. This is where the win for UCT would have been absolutely vital, or to get these points on Saturday. Now, Jerome, there can still be a little bit of movement here. The last 2 spots, which is, and in fact, it can only be determined on Saturday, I suppose. Well, that's when Tygerberg and Van der Stel play. But for tonight's game, UCT need the points against Marties.
Yeah, obviously they need the points against Marties, which it's a typical intervarsity, so anything can happen on the day. It's not going to be so easy.
Yeah.
If they look at it that way, like it's going to be like almost like an intervarsity, like I say. But yeah, but there's where Stellenbosch is at the moment. UCT might take the win, and then they might have an opportunity to go in top 6.
Quite simply, Japes,
yeah,
there are 3 places up for grabs, and there's 4 teams that I can play in them. If you look at the log, quite simply, Hamilton's, SK Warmers, UCT, and Van der Stel are going to be the bottom 3 of the playoffs, of the top 6, yeah. And there's one of them are going to drop out. Hamilton's can still, I don't think Hammies can drop out. So between SK Warmers, UCT, and Van der Stel, those 3 are going to make up the last 2 spots.
So Van der Stel, though, if they walk away with 5 points,
if they get a bonus point away from home,
yeah,
then they'll move into the top 6, and SK Warmers will drop out if UCT win tonight.
All right. So for the folks that are just watching, folks, we're looking really at the top 6 positions on the log, who now will move into the top 6 competition. Jerome, do we have any idea yet when the top 6 competition starts?
Yeah, it is the quarters are on the 6th of September, and then the 13th is the semis, and then the finals are on the 20th of September.
Right, okay, so we've still got quite a lot of rugby to go. And then, of course, we're still waiting for the score 7s. But in short then, Morgan, tonight it's Hamilton's and Durban. Both of them are safe. But Durban, well, yeah, Durban will be looking to secure that. Can there be any movement there still?
Yeah, well, I mean, for that fixture is more about
Position 1 and 2?
Yeah, who they play. If Durban go and get a massive victory and Villages don't pick up a result in that game on Saturday, then, you know, who they play in the semi-finals is going to be important. But then again, the semi-finals will only be determined after the next couple of weeks because there's so much movement still in the top 4.
All right, folks, there's a lot of different permutations. Western Province Club Rugby is definitely bringing a lot of different excitement. We're also going to talk about the various relegation zones. But after this, we start looking at some of the other games. We'll start taking a look at Super League B, Super League C, Promotion League. Alistair Tace will be joining us in a minute or so. But we'll still be bringing you SK Warmers and Marties after the break. Don't go away.